prophecy recorded in the scriptures by the prophet Obadiah, which reads, Thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom, Though thou exalt thyself as an eagle, though set thy nests among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. Those words were fulfilled when Amaziah, king of Judah, invaded Petra in 785 B.C. He literally pulled down the inhabitants from their nest-like homes, leaving them empty and bare. This series of facades includes Petra's royal tombs. First on the right is the silk tomb, the center the Corinthian tomb, on the left the palace tomb, which originally had 3 stories, the top of masonry, which is now falling into ruin. The palace tomb is pure Nabatean in design. It is one of the only 7 monuments of the classic Nabatean period found at Petra. Riding on, we pass many similar buildings, spanning in architectural style many centuries. We are on our way now to visit the famous urn temple known as the monastery. The monastery differs from other large temples in Petra in that it has a masonry extension supported by 2 stories of arched vaults. It's its name from found on one of its interior walls. The Bible speaks of high places of sacrifice relating to pagan religious rites. The finest example of just such a place is the one found in Petra. To reach Petra's high place, we must climb up another steep gorge of several sets of stone stairs cut into the bedrock of the mountain. At times, the path is just a narrow ledge along vertical sides, almost overhanging cliffs, where one misstep could be fatal. One wonders if Petra's newspaper had a long obituary column. It is a long climb to Petra's high place, so in several places we find when the path had flattened out, they had widened it to provide a resting place for the pilgrims. In the Old Testament, high places were generally associated with places of elevation, constructed artificially and used for sacrifice, sometimes human. The prophets of the Old Testament continually warned the Israelites against heathen worship in these places. We finally reached the top of the mountain, which is known as Obelisk Ridge, so named after 2 large obelisks found there. The 2 obelisks stand about 20 feet high and are about 100 feet apart. They have been carved from the mountaintop by quarrying all the rock from around them. Petra's high place consists of a large court sunk into the surface of the rock top of the mountain. In the center of the court is a raised offering table or altar. And surrounding the court are ledges and benches containing various size altars. What rites this place once witnessed can only be conjectured. However, all the requirements of human sacrifice are found here. A central altar where a victim was laid, as certain rites were performed on his body. A tub-like basin where the body could be washed, a standard procedure. Another pit where the body could be cremated after sacrifice. And a most important element for sacrifice, an altar basin for the actual bloodletting, designed to catch the blood in containers. It has been said, seeing is believing, but it doesn't always seem to work. Some visiting Arab, after seeing Petra's high place, wrote this inscription in Arabic: "There is no such place." Did he mean it was non-existent in his mind, or there's no place like this. From the high place, we overlooked the rocky, rugged mountains of Edom that provided a natural protection for the city of Petra and concealed its ruins from the eyes of the Western world for centuries. Since there is no water supply on top of the mountain, water for the high place was supplied from cisterns carved into the bedrock to catch rainwater during the rainy season, to augment what had to be carried up in containers. In descending the mountain by means of a different route, we pass another interesting monument, a carved lion with its head turned sideways facing the traveler. A lead pipe conveying water from a small spring above to refresh the thirsty pilgrims on their way to the high place. Even at this elevation, we come across many Nabatean homes carved into the sandstone cliffs. Some with interesting outdoor-indoor living rooms, having a magnificent view and natural air conditioning, cool on cool days and hot on hot days. Although the homes of the Nabateans were naturally colorful, they often plastered and painted over the walls in vivid colors, usually bright reds, blues, and white. When the Romans came, they reorganized the city, laid out a main street paved with limestone, and constructed on both sides ornate temples, commercial buildings, baths, and retail shops. They also brought to the inhabitants in the form of a large amphitheater carved out of the natural bedrock in the distinctive Roman style. It seats between 4,000 to 5,000 persons. It has 33 rows of seats with 3 main aisles, carved in a semicircle of rock around a floor 120 feet in diameter, with stage, orchestra, and wings for the performers. Box seats in the actually Nabatean tombs exposed when the seating capacity was increased. As the population of Petra increased, at one time well over 250,000 persons. Today, silence prevails, where once the roaring crowds, gladiators. Petra's streets, once bustling with life, are empty. Its homes no longer echo with the laughter of children. Petra's springs are dried up to such an extent that its once fertile valleys are now desert. The rose-red trail of bronze. Caravans laden with the riches of the East no longer come and go through the sick. Now, as our visit to Petra comes to an end, we are reminded of the 35th chapter of Ezekiel, where God says, quote, "Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, O Mount thee, I will lay thy cities desolate, I will make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from it him that passeth out, and him that returneth. Perpetual desolations, and thy cities shall not return, and ye shall, Lord." Is proof that God is faithful. Once he says a thing, it will come to pass. We can have faith in his word.
Conspiracy, one of the darkest words in the language of man. Yet there is hardly a single page of history that doesn't partially reveal the deadly eye of conspiracy at work. It was a conspiracy that directed Brutus against Caesar in the Roman Senate on the Ides of March. It was a conspiracy that plotted the betrayal of West Point by Benedict Arnold during the American Revolution. It was a conspiracy that led John Wilkes Booth to the assassination of President Lincoln on Good Friday, 1865. The past record of man is burdened with accounts of assassinations, secret combines, palace plots, and betrayals in war. The tenet of conspiracy has been a dominant force in all